Hey everyone, I want to talk about one quality that should be found within a missionary, an essential characteristic that I totally overlooked, totally miffed on, totally neglected to develop within myself, and now I'm paying the price for it. Alright, well, as you can see from the backdrop, we're in a different location today. We're actually in Freetown. Before I get into this video, let me share a little bit of background as far as why we're here. As many of you know, we had our second daughter, Epaphra, here in Sierra Leone. And because she was born abroad, we then need to start the process for getting her citizenship and her passport so that she's available to leave the country. And so it's a little bit of a challenge because we live about 3.5 to 4 hours away from the embassy that's here in Freetown. It's kind of a grueling trip by vehicle from Bo to Freetown. And I wasn't super eager for Sonia to make that trip immediately after giving birth, as well as for Epaphra. And so we waited about a month to make this trip. And so that gives you guys a little bit of a setting and backdrop to some things I'm going to talk about right now. So I want to tell you about this quality that I do not have developed within myself to nearly to the extent that I ought to be. And I want to illustrate and share this quality by sharing with you a little bit about my last maybe 48 to 72 hours. And so I'm going to do this by playing a game called Fortunately, Unfortunately. Maybe you've heard of this game. It's basically you kind of go back and forth between good news and bad news, good news and bad news. My game's been a big, long game of Fortunately, Unfortunately for the past several days. And so I want to share this with you. I try to do this briefly. I don't have too high of confidence that you're going to have a very high viewer retention for hearing someone's problems that are probably not near as significant as your own. So I'll try to go through this quickly and then make my point. All right, I hope you guys are ready to play. So unfortunately, the 24-hour period before we left Bo, the wiring in our house stopped working to the point where we had no access to city power, which only comes on every other day anyway, and our generator broke. So the past 24 hours really had no power whatsoever in our home, which is not a big deal, except for some reason, whenever I don't have power for my family, I feel like a bad husband. I feel like I'm not providing for my family in a significant way, so that's unfortunate. Fortunately, we're leaving Bo to go to Freetown, which has constant power, so that's pretty great. Unfortunately, on Sunday after service, the vehicle to pick us up was going to be 3 hours late. Fortunately, I was able to find a different vehicle. Now, it was very important for me to find a vehicle with AC because if we don't have AC, then we roll the windows down and it gets very violent winds inside the vehicle, and so that would disturb the baby. And so fortunately, I was able to find a backup driver to come pick us up. Unfortunately, 45 minutes into our drive, the car broke down when the fan belt broke. So we're stranded on the side of the road in the middle of the day in the intense heat, the one thing I did not want my wife to have to endure 4 months postpartum, for about 3 hours. Fortunately, it was able to get fixed and we made our way to Freetown just before it got dark, so that was important to me. Unfortunately, when we got to the hotel that I had made reservations at, there was a big staircase that was required to make it to our room. And it's unfortunate, again, that here in Sierra Leone, there's no regulation for how big steps need to be for stairs. And so these steps are literally like a foot to 14 inches high, which is again not ideal for a visit that I was hoping my wife would not have to climb stairs in order to do. Sonia had a hard time last time healing postpartum, and so I was really wanting to take it easy on her this time. And so that was unfortunate. But fortunately, both Becca and myself have been able to help out holding the babies and purses so that Sonia can take her time going up those stairs, and it's not been a problem. Unfortunately, on Monday, when we arrived to the embassy, they said they had no appointment for us that day and was not going to be able to help us. Fortunately, we begged and pleaded with them and explained our situation, that we had traveled 4 hours from Bo to come here with a newborn and recovering mother, and they allowed us in for an appointment. Unfortunately, after 4 hours of waiting, we were informed that we didn't have the right sized passport photo. Fortunately, we had a driver take us to a photo booth. Unfortunately, that was probably the most traumatic experience Sonia's ever had as a mother. I won't go into detail. Fortunately, we were able to make it back to the embassy in time to give the photo. Unfortunately, they said it was about a 50% chance the photo was not high enough quality. Fortunately, there's about a 50% chance that it is good enough. Unfortunately, because that chore took so long and took so much out of Sonia and the baby, we're unable to accomplish everything in Freetown that we had planned. Fortunately, we're able to extend our reservations at a very affordable rate to be able to stay an extra day. So that was fun, right? That was a game. That was fun. Well, it really wasn't for me. And the truth is, the events these past few days have been really challenging for me. Just really challenging. To the point where I've just been filled with stress and with frustration and insecurity, feeling like I'm not providing for my family and not taking care of them in the right way. And this has been really challenging. I'm not sure if this problem is just, unique to me, that I have a special challenge with this. I thought I had developed this quality well. I mean, I lived in Boston for several years, and anyone who lives there knows that is not necessarily a very convenient place to live. There's always challenges and things that take longer and things like that. But the truth is, I think America as a whole, there is this focus and even obsession with the convenient and with the time efficient, and we just will purchase any little gadget and any little tool or appliance that speeds up our process, and we just love the idea of doing things quickly, doing things efficiently. And the truth is, that is not helpful to me. That mentality that I developed there is not helpful at all. In fact, it's a distraction to me here. And so that's one quality that unfortunately I don't feel like I have to the extent that I want. And that's a quality that's going to be a huge focus of mine moving forward. And so this gets back to the beginning of the video when I said there's one missionary quality, one essential characteristic that I think missionaries need to have, and that is being flexible and learning to adjust gracefully when things don't turn out the way you want them to. And when you have to multiple times, 5, 6, 7 times a day, resort to plan B, plan C, plan D, and even so on. And so this is a quality that I don't feel like I developed to the extent that I should have. And I'm, like I said, paying the price for it with frustration and with stress and with worry. And that's something that I'm ashamed to share in one end, but I'm really hopeful that I can identify it and be able to grow in it. So this is one thing that I think is not just a needed quality, here in Sierra Leone, or in the mission field. Obviously, this is a quality that we all should have no matter where we're living. But this is one thing I really want to encourage any would-be, missionaries or evangelists or Christians that would consider moving overseas, is that there are not many countries or regions in the world that is as convenient and we can make as time efficient as what we're used to in the U.S. There's going to be a downgrade in that area pretty much anywhere that you would move. And so while you're there, be very careful not to fall into the trap and into the current of being obsessed with doing things efficiently, with doing things in the most convenient manner. Learn to be okay and learn to gracefully respond when things don't happen the way you plan them to happen. And I'd also like to make an application to maybe parents out there, that there's really not too many more important and valuable qualities that you can pass down to your kids than teaching them how to respond well when things don't go their way, and when things that they thought was only going to take 15 minutes takes an hour, or things that they thought would take 2 hours take 7. And so that's something that you could be a huge blessing to them if you're able to model that, if you're able to demonstrate those qualities, teach them how you're able to achieve that sort of responses to difficult and challenging situations when things don't go the way that you intended them. And who knows, maybe because of that, you're then nurturing a heart and a person that would then learn to thrive in a foreign mission field while preaching the gospel, not allowing the environment around them in a more difficult and less convenient and less time efficient atmosphere really prevent them from living life gracefully and preaching the gospel in a effective manner. So I really have tried my best to format this video in a way that doesn't come across as me just complaining or trying to get sympathy from you all. It's really not my intent. Really, this has been me just sharing a shortcoming and a failure of mine in hopes, that would then result in some change in my own life. But also, I hope I've shared this in a way that's been constructive and productive for you, that perhaps you could be encouraged to maybe focus a little bit upon you developing this quality in a higher capacity than what I have. And so I hope and pray that that's a help and a blessing to you. As always, I appreciate all the love and support you guys give us. It really means the world to us in so many ways. So I'll catch you guys next week back in Bow.